Green Valley.
Oh, okay.
I got I liked this style for the last few years as my hair's been falling out, and so she saw me buying caps online, and she looked at the style and started knitting them for me. So this is my second one she's made for me. The first one got stolen when my car they got in my car at the beach. She's like, "Really? Well, I'll make you another one." And what's cool about this one is the white. She used a fluorescent. Yeah, it glows in the dark.
Hurt your brain, you know.
Yeah.
Then we'll do stuff after that.
That's right. It would be juicing me.
Or if we can make it to San Bernardino.
Boy, I wish I could get that blue out of there. That sure doesn't make any sense to me. Testing. Is there anybody out there? We've got streaming.
I don't usually go that way. I usually go.
I think.
Go up to 40.
Let me copy this.
Dishwasher?
Yeah.
In the
You can buy
States.
it at or you can buy it at Liverpool.
This friend of mine is
In Hermosillo. And they deliver for almost nothing.
Hey, but what you want to do?
I bought mine in
I've never been there.
Whirlpool. No, Liverpool's in Hermosillo. It's a big department store like, say, the Bon Marché or
Macy's.
But what did you buy there?
She wants to buy a dishwasher.
Costco has, Costco has.
And Costco has them too.
Okay, but and I don't know the name brand to say, but you really do want to make sure you buy a name brand that's being serviced in Mexico. My folks just dealt with that. They had to buy another washing machine because it was too expensive to get the parts to get it repaired down here. So it seems like Whirlpool, and there was another one that's
Maytag is Whirlpool.
Yeah, Maytag is Whirlpool.
They're just make sure you're buying a name brand that you can get parts for down
It's
here.
stainless steel inside. Don't get the plastic. Don't get the plastic down here.
They had some nice ones in the,
Morning,
they
Judy.
had some nice ones
Good
in the small
morning.
market.
Yeah, but
It seems like Whirlpool. There we go. Okay. You did. That's me testing to make sure we're streaming. Streaming live.
Yeah, we have a dishwasher.
they had a Frigidaire in ours that was so loud. Now you can't even hear ours when it's on. I bought about a $900 all stainless. Wood Oh, I got paid. You did?
I did. I was trying to figure out how to do it. Everything you all know.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, has everybody paid their dues?
Yes, ma'am.
Look at this table. This is a table of people that have paid their dues.
One way or the other.
So when did the computer club start?
In about 2 minutes it'll start.
And when? You know what year?
I would have to say it would be in the early years.
In the early years.
Yeah, like 2001, 2002.
Oh, you were pretty young.
He's young,
Thank
so
you.
There was nothing before 2000.
No,
Around 2000.
I want to say 2001 or 2002.
Okay.
And I've got recordings that actually go back to 2009.
I started in 9.
Yeah.
Coming.
And it wasn't my thing when it started. It was Jack Burns. I don't know if you knew Jack Burns. Yeah, it was.
Well, I didn't, but they did.
It was Jack Burns' thing, and I was helping Debbie with the internet, the only internet in town. And I was asked to come be a guest speaker at the computer club because there was another guy that was doing it before me, Jan Brom, who was also helping Debbie with internet stuff.
Debbie who?
Debbie St. Ange.
Yes. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be down the restaurant.
What, JC's Cafe and
Oh, it was at
the Internet
JC's?
Cafe.
Oh, okay.
The Internet Cafe opened the year that I opened my computer consulting business.
Really?
And Debbie was one of my first major customers.
Oh,
She had gotten all this equipment, but didn't have a good. Well, it was all hooked up. She hired people from Mexico City to come and set it all up, but she didn't have an accounting system. She didn't have a system for maintaining users and troubleshooting and that kind of stuff. And so she hired me to kind of organize the administration of what she was doing. And so it was kind of a neat time for me because I got to play with programming languages that I hadn't used before. Yeah, I wrote her some tools that allowed her to see who was dialed up to the system, and she was able to track accounting to find out whether they'd paid the bill or not, and things like that. So it was pretty cool, and the computer club meetings that I attended spun right out of that, because one of the guys that was helping her was asked to be a guest speaker at the computer club Jack Burns was doing at the yacht club. And then later I was asked if I could come in and talk to him. And we started making it a weekly thing. And John had health problems. His wife had health problems. He had to go back to Europe. And so it turned into just Jack Burns and I doing this thing. And then, of course, if you know Jack, he passed away later. And so it just ended up being me. Mhm. But yeah, so way back in the early 2000s is when the computer club started. It worked. Chester's been there all along. I think we're ready to start. I think miraculously, I started the morning with a bunch of stuff not working, and it looks like everything's working now. So maybe I shouldn't say that out loud. If you guys are ready, this is the San Carlos Computer Club, and I'm Scott Stimson. I'm here to help and answer any questions you might have. I only had a chance to gather a couple of topics, if even that. So I'm happy to open this up to anybody that has a question. Before I start, Linda, let me say I still don't know whether I'm going to be here on the 29th or not. I'm not sure if I'm traveling. And so I don't know if I'm going to be part of a meeting on the 29th yet or not.
so why don't we just end it
Well,
before the 29th?
It's ended.
There's not that much people here now
Yeah.
either. They won't be here. Irving
I'm
won't
not
be
here.
here. They won't be here, so there won't be anybody here but us.
Chester's like, now wait a second, I'll be here.
Sitting right over
Okay,
there.
so what's in question is if the last meeting is the 22nd or the 29th, and you're saying we should just make it the 22nd.
Yes.
I'm okay
They'll
with
all be
that.
gone.
I'll probably be running around like a crazy person on the. If I'm still here, I'll probably be running around like a crazy
Let's
person.
just make it the 22nd.
Okay, the 22nd will be the last meeting.
You're outvoted, Chester.
Yeah, you and me. Okay.
Okay, that being said, what's the question?
Okay. The question is, or the comment is, did you get the scrolling fixed? Like I emailed you?
No, I did not.
Okay, well, I did.
Took a day.
Well, I just went into Device Manager, took all that Logitech stuff out,
Okay.
then went back in there and saw this little box that said about scrolling. And I unchecked the box.
This is the Microsoft stuff.
This was the Logitech,
But you said you
Mouse.
pulled all that out.
yeah, I went to Device and I just did the Microsoft, like you said.
So this is an option.
Then I went in there, and the option is, there's a little box that says scrolling.
And what's it say about
I
scrolling?
unchecked it,
So it doesn't scroll anymore
doesn't scroll.
at all.
Unless I make it. No, unless I make it scroll. It
Oh,
was free scrolling.
is that the language? Free scrolling?
Well, I don't know, is that the language?
You're the one that's telling us this story. I'm trying to get some useful info
You
here.
take your mouse and you press and
Hold
go
on,
down the
I'm gonna
side.
find the language because I've gone into
free
settings.
I call it free scrolling.
Yeah,
That was my.
It's carefree scroll.
Right click. Right click with.
oh, okay.
Scroll inactive windows? No.
Go in, Are you
I'm in mouse right
in the
now.
mouse?
And under settings.
And there should be a thing that says scroll.
Scroll
And a little
active
box next to
windows.
it.
But is that Windows a mouse or, I don't know what Scott has that.
Yeah, you know, it could be that it's not presented to me because I'm running the touchpad right now. And
Oh.
it may have tailored the settings for whatever
Okay, well,
I have
anyway,
set
there
up.
was a box that said scroll. It was checked. So, in other words, when Windows did because I went into help in the Logitech, you know, where everybody posts their stuff, and all kinds of people were posting that it was free scrolling, which it was, no matter where you put the mouse, on my husband's computer, on mine, and then I found that box was checked. So when they did the update on Windows 10,
You know, that update not only screwed up my laptop,
yeah,
and I had to reinstall the Windows, but it screwed the Apple up, that lost its sound. That same upgrade from
Yeah.
Windows.
well, you know, those Windows updates have lost the sound. Oh, shoot.
I forgot to say,
Just a minute.
silence your
No, it's
cell phones. Silence your cell phones. It's a live set. Well, and Chester, I told you about to fix Chester's problem, I had to do a reset to the computer, which basically reinstalled the Windows operating system in place. That removes applications, but it doesn't remove your data. And so when the computer starts back up, everything looks the same. Your desktop's the same, your pictures and your files and everything are in the same spot. But any software that you've added to it, either through the Microsoft Store or more likely something you've downloaded or you have disks for and you've installed, that needs to be reinstalled to work. And check.
One other issue is that when I did reinstall Windows, or upgrade, or whatever they call it, I think they call it reinstall.
It's a reset. Reset is.
I saved all those personal settings, but I lost my contacts, my internet contacts. I was hoping they were still together, but I bet they're gone also.
Well, where do you keep the contacts?
And Outlook.
In Outlook. Yeah, so I bet
Outlook's gone.
I bet you haven't lost them. But you have to reinstall Outlook, and when it reinstalls, it's going to give a default location for contacts. It's not going to give you a chance to explore for contacts and use your old contacts. So they're still there, but they're in a file that Outlook's not going to see when you reinstall it. I'm
was wondering where I could go to get it, because I'd like to get it on both.
Yeah, no, I'll take a look at it because it shouldn't have been touched by the reset. It's part of your data. It should be still there.
You can't do a search on the PS2 file?
Well, that's what we're going to have to do is something like that, depending on what format that they're stored in. Yeah. Yeah.
Mine are in Gmail and Outlook, so I could always.
Mine aren't on Gmail.
Well, and that's really a good argument for using a service like a Microsoft service or a Gmail service, so that you don't have to worry about those things. They're stored in the cloud, and so you can reset your device and point at the cloud again and get that stuff synchronized. But this new update, all this talk about update problems that Linda had and Chester had are about the last Windows 10 update. But today we've got a new Windows 10 update. Yeah. And so if you pay attention to the build numbers, we've been using 1709. We're updating to 1803. And that's where my problems started this morning. They have some neat features in 1803. But one of the things they've done is they've rejiggered the sound settings. And so you can basically forget about most of what you knew about setting sound in Windows. Finding the old sound settings is a little challenging because it's not pointed out to you. But and Linda, you probably want to know this right off the bat. if you click on the mic on the speaker on your taskbar with the right mouse button, it brings up that right mouse button context menu. It no longer says playback settings or recording settings. What matters in that respect is sounds. There's an option that says sounds, and that will bring up the traditional sound settings that you've become accustomed to since Windows XP.
Okay.
And that brings up the tabs for playback, recording, sounds, communication. It allows you to set a default microphone or default speakers. All that happens under sounds. Now, if you click on that speaker with the right mouse button and you choose Open Sound Settings, you'll see the new settings, which are under the new Windows 10 settings. And this is a bit more straightforward than it's ever been before. And at the bottom of this window, it has app volumes and device preferences. I haven't had a chance to play with this at all, but it looks to me like we're going to have the ability to set specific sound settings for specific applications. So how this affects you is
Like your phones, you can set different sounds for the telephone.
Well, I think the easiest way to look at this for me is you have speakers that you're listening to your movie on, and you get a Skype call, and that goes to the headphones you already have plugged in. So that phone call doesn't go across your home theater. It goes through your Bluetooth headphones.
Most of us on our computers, I assume, have external speakers with the subwoofer.
Yes.
And you plug into the headphone jack.
Right.
Yeah.
Would this affect that?
Well, it would and it wouldn't. It would in that you can configure all that, and it can be set to work exactly the same way it's working now. The way you've got it plugged in, you've always had a default sound out and a default sound in. And the difference here is that you can now granularly determine which sound you're using for which application. You don't have to. You can set everything to defaults. But I mean, and that's why I used the Skype example. To me, that's a very good example of how you. And I've been doing this on the Macintosh for years. I've got sound going out to my external speakers for the bells and whistles of the computer, for any video I might be playing or any music I'm listening to. But I run Skype 24/7. It's for the bed and breakfast. That's how I do my calls for my customers. And that rings across my speakers, and when I pick it up, the audio goes through my headphones. Right? And I don't have to set any of that. That's all set in the operating system. Well, actually, the truth is that's set in Skype on the Macintosh. In this case, you have control over it through the operating system.
Okay, like your car, when you have your phone plugged into your car and the phone rings, the sounds go silent while the phone's ringing. That's the same.
It's a similar kind of control that we now have over the Windows operating system that we didn't before. Now, one of the reasons that Skype may not be the best example is because Skype was concerned and aware of this problem in the beginning. And so, though all these other programs that you've used have not had sound controls like this, Skype has had this control for a long time. So if you go into Skype, you can specify what you're in and out for your sound. So that level of control is now available through this new update. May or may not matter to you. Another new thing with this update that's looking like it's going to be very cool, and I'm looking at it right now because this is actually the first time I've been able to see it. This could also be very embarrassing depending on what you're doing with your computer. There is a timeline now. There's an icon in Windows 10 that bring up your tasks. It allows you to switch different desktops. It allows you to see every window that you're running right now. What they've added to the right of it is a timeline. And this is a bar that you can sweep up and down. And what it does is it lists the tasks. I'm looking at it right now. It shows me testing and listening to my testing for the computer club earlier today, and it shows me each one of the files I had open. So what this is the ability to go back to tasks that you were doing earlier based on a time period. Like you could look and see what was I doing yesterday, and you can.
That's what I was going to ask. How far back? I see more days in timeline.
Yeah, and this was just installed today.
Huh.
So we're not going to go any farther back than about 7 o'clock this morning.
Mhm.
But it'll be interesting to watch as we get more and more of that history.
So how further back do you think it's gonna go? Only a couple days?
I have no idea.
It doesn't say.
Good, if you're gonna commit a crime, you better not do that.
Or will it, like if you click on your bank, if you've been doing banking, is it going to open your bank
Yeah,
again?
is it gonna open your
Yeah.
bank account?
I
Or
think
just show that you were at the bank account?
you guys, these are awesome questions, and we're going to find
Next
out in the
week.
next
That's a
couple of
good
days.
question.
Yeah.
It won't read out.
I don't think it will.
Oh, it says here, sign in with a Microsoft account, and you'll see up to 30 days in your timeline.
30 days.
30 days. So that, geez, for me, just daily, that's going to be
So you
helpful.
did
What
this
was I doing
update?
2 hours ago?
You did this update yesterday?
Yeah.
Or today?
Say
You
that
did this update tonight? Or this
I did
morning?
this morning, like a maniac. I should have left it alone until after club. I was freaking out. I was almost crying because I couldn't make the thing work. I'm like, what am I doing? I can't believe I did this update right before club.
Well, you said about the sounds.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we've had updates, I've lost the stereo sound on the laptop and had to go back in and do an adjust, do a reinstall or find it again or something.
Yeah, I mean, and like Chester's experience on the iMac, that was just ridiculous. There was no fixing those drivers. They had fundamentally changed the way that Windows was working with drivers. And the Macintosh software was, it wouldn't install itself correctly. It wouldn't allow it wouldn't identify the hardware correctly. So, well, yeah, I think it probably is Apple's fault in the end, and that's why I'm curious about this. This would be the determiner for me, is if we can install this latest update and the drivers stay, or at the very least we can run the Apple software correctly afterwards. I'm suspecting at this moment no, but hopefully it'll run. What the nice thing about doing it like this is the moment that we determine that it's not going to work, I can roll it back and I can block it using that Windows show hide updates. And I'll mention that again right now. This update is pumping out to your computer right now. If you have a Windows 10 computer, let me qualify that. If you have a Windows 10 computer, this update is showing up right now. It is a big update. This is the kind of update that takes out your old operating system, puts in the new operating
For a
system,
long time.
and it's a fundamental update. So it's going to make dramatic changes that you don't see, because in the end, their goal is for everything to look and act exactly the same, but better, faster, and a couple of new features. This timeline's one of the few new features that they've added.
Big brother's watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll never be a Windows 11. There's always going to be a Windows 10 that's up to date.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. We were on a cruise, Holland America line, and they have a deal with Microsoft where they can bring somebody on from Microsoft when he runs classes. She runs them. And then they'll have a workshop. You can come in and ask any questions. Anyway, he said he went to a class.
Yeah.
At Microsoft with a bunch of others, and they're not going to come out with Windows 11 like you said.
Right.
But their plan is to change the whole Windows 10, but to do it in little increments over a period of time.
That's right.
That's what's, happening.
Yeah, that's the language they use is software as a service. And so you're getting your operating system as a service. It's never completed. It's always borrowed. It's always being updated. And this only works if they can rely on the hardware manufacturers to stay up with them, because you can imagine that you can reach a point where a hardware vendor has stopped supporting, and Microsoft has to make this decision whether they're going to support the hardware, if they're going to write the drivers that'll fit into the latest updates, or if they're going to abandon that hardware, calling it their fault, calling it the third-party fault.
My understanding is they're trying to move toward the universal entertainment system, or operating system, where you have TV, everything coupled.
Boy, there's definitely that's going on, but you know what's happened recently is they've disbanded Windows. They have made this dramatic change in Microsoft right now. They've decided to take the focus away from Windows, because they're recognizing that Windows is not the future as far as where they're going to make money as a company. And they have disbanded the Windows team that has come out with this latest big rollout, and they've put those people in strategic locations around their organization. None of it oriented on the operating system. All of it on these other services, like their music service and their TV service and their store service, their app services. What's that?
Like IBM did, they
Yeah.
got away from computers and went to service.
Well, this is a dramatic change for Microsoft, because their cash cow has always been Windows. And so it's always about the build-up for Windows, the reason you have to buy the new Windows, hardware partners to sell the new Windows. And what they're saying is, we're not relying on Windows to make money anymore. We're relying on services to make money, and they don't care where that is. And so they're working with Android, they're working with Apple, they're working anywhere that they can get their services. And that's why you've seen this big push for things like Outlook on Android, or Word on Microsoft Office on Android or on iOS. Some of the iOS apps that they've put out came out before the Windows apps, because they recognize how important it is to be on the iPlatform. So it's a big change, and I bet what we're going to see is this Windows operating system will be around for a long time now. And we'll see these little changes. They'll do bug fixes. But as far as providing features, I think this is the last major iteration of features that we're going to see. We're not going to see Windows change form again. It's all going to happen in the background. The way the buttons you press and the things you move, those are pretty set in stone now. And what they actually do in the background that you don't see, those fundamentals will be changing. But what you're seeing on this end of the screen, that stuff's not going to change. Or at least that's what I predict.
How do you know if your TV has Bluetooth?
If your TV has Bluetooth,
So you can hook the computer.
you know, it should be obvious.
It's not.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a 4K TV?
Yeah, we just bought it.
Then you,
Oh,
it has
It's,
it.
if you just
We have
yeah,
Wi-Fi, we have.
Yeah, we
It
have
has it.
Wi-Fi.
if it's a 4K TV, it's hard to imagine it wouldn't have Bluetooth.
Do you have the Wi-Fi hooked up?
Yep.
You put in your password,
Well, actually, it's
you put in your,
it's,
Hey.
Ethernet. We've got.
yeah.
I'll tell you an easy way. You could Google your TV model and the word Bluetooth. You should get on one of the first results, should be trying to sell your TV to you, and one of its selling features will be Bluetooth. If it's not that, if you're finding yourself digging through information, you don't have Bluetooth.
The other thing, what are you trying to hook up?
Well,
Your tablet?
Scott suggested we have a keyboard because a lot of the programs I have to do.
Is it a Samsung?
No, it's a Sharp.
We have.
I would get that. I suggested a specific keyboard too. I would get the K830 Logitech backlit keyboard. It comes with a dongle that you can plug into the back of your TV or computer, and it supports Bluetooth. If you don't want to mess around with the dongle, you can set it up as a Bluetooth keyboard. It allows me to use it. I use it in my office. It allows me to use it on a temporary computer. I can just take out the dongle and stick it on something, as well as being connected to a computer through Bluetooth, and I can just toggle between
What was the model again?
It's an 830, a K830. It's a living room keyboard, and what that means is that it's got a slightly smaller keyboard profile, and it's got a trackpad off of one side. So you've got the mouse and the keyboard together in one device. And what I like about it is it's backlit, so you can see it in the dark real easy.
What's the manufacturer?
Logitech.
We got a keyboard in Hong Kong for these. It comes in a little tube, and you roll it out,
Oh,
and it's got Bluetooth, and you can use it on you hook up to your phone,
yeah.
keyboard and all that. Then they had one with a little cube, and you put it down, and you turn it on, and it lit a keyboard on the
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and then you just use that.
Right, yeah.
Do you have a tablet?
They've been working on versions of that for years
have a
now.
tablet?
It's got a fire.
This
Okay,
where it
so-
illuminates a keyboard and it uses
just
motion
go into
tracking
the
to figure out which
settings
key
and
you've
go to
pressed.
the Bluetooth
It's
and
it's pretty
settings
cool stuff.
And have your tablet there.
It's
and
like
put
something
your
out of a
tablet on
sci-fi
Bluetooth,
movie.
Yeah,
and it'll
They were
come up, and
expensive,
it should
though. I
give
didn't
you
get one
like
of
a
those.
password number. Like when you set up your phone in the car.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Scott, I've got a question.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks, maybe a month ago, so a guy called me that I do a little bit of business with. Anyway, very few emails back and forth, but he said, "Did you send me this email?" And it has, it's a phishing email, apparently. Click on this link, goes you need to reset your,
But it looks like it came from you?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Typically that's not your issue. I mean, it's unfortunate it looks like it came from you, but typically that's not you.
Okay.
That's not your computers, it's not your services. Unfortunately, it's probably somebody as close to this person as you are, but it's typically not you.
They have found somehow my name, attached it to whatever they want, and I'm not.
I wouldn't be surprised if you guys have a mutual friend who's gotten infected with like a botnet, so something that's looked at his address book, his services. See, if these are not effective at scamming people if they can be found immediately, and the quickest way to find them is to do what he did: get a hold of you and go, "Did you send me this?" You're like, "Well, no, I didn't." Well, obviously this is not a legitimate. And if the next step you would do, and I'd still encourage people to do this, when somebody tells you, "Hey, I got this virus from you," or this spam, the first thing you should do is check your computer for viruses. More than likely, you're not going to find one, because if it was that easy to find, that whole system would be shut down very quickly. So the thinking is, you infect a system that has access to a contact list so that it can randomly pick people as the sender and the receiver. So it's not obvious where these messages are coming from.
I wonder if I have the same thing. Like this morning, I got a bill from Sprint, $174, and it has my email address. But when you open the bill and look at it, it has some guy in Maryland name on it.
Yeah, I'd be suspicious of that.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
open?
Why did you open it, Chester? I was just gonna say.
AT&T bill too, and I don't.
I was just going to say this is a great lead-in. If you guys didn't pay attention to my Facebook post, I got spam, a phishing email this week. When was it? On Sunday or Monday? And I was it was obvious to me. It was a phishing email right from the moment that I looked at it. But it occurred to me that it was so obvious that people are obviously getting tricked by these still, and they don't have the skills to just look at it and see that it's garbage. And so I wrote up a big Facebook post with picture examples of the email that I just received from Apple support, telling me that I had purchased a certain application, and that if I if this was an error, I could follow this link and cancel the purchase.
I got
What-
one of those this morning.
And what Gary just said is so enlightening because I have an Apple account, so I have to look at it another second. But if I didn't have an Apple account, it goes right in the trash. There's no reason to pursue it any farther. You're looking at a Sprint bill, it goes in the trash. You don't use Sprint. It's obviously a phishing email. You don't use Sprint. There's what's it's T-Mobile Sprint now, isn't it?
Mine said confirm you're unsubscribed. And it was in my junk spam email. I just deleted it.
Yeah.
Well, I had not had anybody else contact me about anything. So, and I just ignored it pretty much. Not pretty much. I totally ignored it on the first time
Yeah.
I called, and then just called this morning with the second. So, if it had been another person as well, I guess what I'm asking is, if it's possible to answer, is when is it a problem where they have actually, I hate the word hack, because I have
Change
no
your
idea what
password.
it means, and they've gotten into my,
It's not weird.
yeah.
I don't think I would immediately change my password. I think the best way to start out is assuming that it's not you, but do a virus check on your equipment just to make sure. But more than likely, it's not you.
Well, isn't there a virus, you know my system in and out, you deal with it way more than I do. Isn't there a virus check constantly going on in this,
There could be. I could have installed Avast, and I like to install Avast in the Macintoshes.
That pops up every once in a while and talks about viruses.
Yeah, okay. So you're protected. There's no reason to think that you've gotten infected with. And it's a Macintosh, so it's also kind of unlikely. I mean, your odds of being the beginning of this problem are very slim. It's much more likely somebody you both know, or even a service. It could see that's the most frustrating thing is it could be some real estate agent you both use. It could be anything like that that has you on a list. That's right.
Now, which password are you talking? Because I have a list of passwords.
Your email.
I don't have an email password.
Huh?
I don't have an email password. Not that I'm aware of.
What's your email?
It's through Apple.
So it's
I
your
open up Apple and the emails there magically.
Yeah, but you've got like a Gmail account, something like that
You
you're
have a
using.
Gmail account?
I think.
Not what I use.
But what email address do you hand out?
It's some airwave accessing in Colorado.
Okay.
It's through a microwave sending internet to our house.
Oh, wow.
What's your email address?
But Gary, when you hand out an email address, what do you hand out? Like if I said I want to send you an email, what's your email address?
Yeah, it's .mywai.com.
Okay.
Very common.
Yeah. So that has a password associated with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know. Now I know what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay. So and I wouldn't change it immediately. In fact, what we've discovered in the last few years, I say that and I realize, no, in the last 10 years, is that changing a password unnecessarily puts you at a higher security risk than leaving it alone. It's better to analyze what's going on. There are very legitimate reasons for changing a password, and you need to determine whether it's a legitimate reason to do it. A blanket just change your password may leave you at more risk.
Why?
Well, I mean, first of all, maybe you are infected. Maybe you're infected with something that's collecting passwords, and it's waiting for you to do the password change. Right? There's maybe your account's being monitored either by your computer or by the service that. So it's not the very first thing you want to do. The other thing is that the changing passwords too frequently creates an environment where you're not even trying to store them anymore. You're writing them on Post-it notes and sticking them on, right? And that is much more insecure than having a password procedure that. So we learned in the corporate world to stop asking them to change every 30 to 60 days because all you've got are a bunch of monitors with Post-it notes on them with passwords now. It's not more secure. Technically technically it's more secure, but socially it's not. Socially, it's much more easy to.
So I think it's the Social Security Administration recommended you change your password every 6 months.
Actually,
They
every time
used
I
to,
log
don't know if they still
on.
do, but yeah, that, maybe even.
Just about.
It's ridiculous.
But they have
Just
new
watch,
sites
they
now.
won't let you on down here.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
no,
they
you're
can.
right, they don't.
No,
So Scott, what do
Social
you-
Security?
not
Yeah,
down
they do.
here.
Yeah.
I don't think
Never
you
been
should
able to
change
get
your
on.
password unless there's a
Without putting my
legitimate reason to
VPN on.
change your password. Social Security, that's kind of a different deal. You're at the mercy of your services. And 6 months sounds like a good time frame to require a password be changed within. 6 months is, I don't think you don't open yourself up to more insecurity by changing every 6 months. I think you do if it's every 30 days or it's every 60 days.
Security password or family birthday.
Well, Medicare, I can't get my DOBs
Go online.
because it won't let me log on.
Right. Right.
I don't think I
It
tried
has to do
social
with
security. I
Medicare.
must have tried social security because I got my,
I don't do it,
statement,
but I know it's.
1099.
You got it down
You mean
here?
the same password or a different password? Is that the question?
Well, you-
Okay, so passwords are.
Going to have to have a master's with Medicare.
I think you need to make a judgment of the security risk.
They're going to be sending you Medicare
So,
only by,
The analogies that I use often are if it's a bank, if it's a credit card, Social Security is probably a good example as well. I just named 3 things that should have completely different passwords. The bank should have a different password than your credit card, have a different password from your Social Security. Those are examples of things that you should intentionally make unique from any other service. But then you've got other things. You've got things like the Viva San Carlos website. You've got sites that are like well, let's not go there yet. But let's say Viva, let's say Kiteboarders enthusiast website, let's say a quilting circle website. These are not highly secure sites. In fact, you should treat those sites as ones where your passwords are going to be stolen. Just expect those kinds of places as being places where they're gonna hijack, because even the Computer Club website, I'm sorry to say, is I don't put anything secure on it. So if you were to sign up for an account and get a password, that's a good example of a place that might have its password stolen, because I'm not fortifying it with heavy security. It doesn't matter. It's just a brochure. It's just an information launching point. And so the Quilting Circle website is probably run by my grandmother. Right? She's not worried about making sure it's a really secure site.
right.
So what you don't want to do is you don't want to use passwords there that matter. But what you can do is you can use passwords that don't matter. You can use these throwaway passwords that are easy to remember. You can use the same password in all those places because it just doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I do with all these, websites you sign up like Fashion or buying. I use the same password on all of them. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're only going in there to look. Why they make you have a password and just look at their website? I don't understand.
How about the username?
So, the username, well,
It's usually email.
It's usually your email.
Yeah, a lot of them,
Sometimes
a
it's
lot of them.
some allow you to set a username that's associated with an email, but the standard pretty much. And you know what? In that respect, also, you can have a Hotmail or a Gmail account that's specifically for signing up for services, right? And going back to the spam emails, if you have more than one email account and you have one specifically for services, and in your private account, the one you converse with your friends and family with, if something comes in there saying, hey, you just made a purchase on Apple, you're like, this is coming to the wrong account. You know it's spam. It doesn't matter whether you have an Apple account or not. It's definitely not associated with that email address. You shouldn't be receiving it there. In fact, with the whole spam thing, I was going to say, I didn't plan on doing a thing on spam, but I wrote this up, and I had 7 checks I put in And I just want to quickly just summarize what I wrote to people in Facebook. The first one is the question we already dealt with is, do you have an Apple, in this case, do you have an Apple account? If you don't have an Apple account, this is a spam email. It can be thrown away. Don't pay any more attention to it. If Bank of America is approaching you about some fraud and you're not a Bank of America customer, throw it away.
But if you are, go to their website.
Okay.
That's what I
Okay.
do.
But my first point here is, if you don't have an account with these services, you don't have to give it any more thought. It's a scam. Don't pay attention to it. The second point I made with this. Oh, did you have a point on that?
No, I want to know where that is, because when I look at Facebook, San Carlos would be.
Oh,
there.
I reposted it there, but the original one's on my timeline. But it should be reposted there.
Really?
Yeah,
When?
just a couple of days ago.
I never saw it.
San Carlos
Me either.
board?
There it is. No, wait. No, yeah, there it is, right there. Hi, guys.
Oh,
I never
Fishing's
saw
there.
it.
Yeah.
It's there. I didn't see it either.
I like you guys keeping me honest.
He posted it Friday at 11.
What was the heading of it?
Fishing. PSA lesson.
PSA lesson: identifying phishing and email scams.
I sure didn't get it.
So
Is this on his Facebook?
Yes,
this
it
is on the Facebook. Yeah. Also, I reposted it on the San Carlos Computer Club Facebook. You know what? I'll just copy and I'll paste it on the San Carlos Computer Club website too, as a blog entry.
So, but what's your Facebook?
Scott Stimson.
Oh, it's under your Scott Stimson.
Yeah,
It's
and then
not
I
on the
reposted
Computer
it on
Club.
the Computer Club Facebook.
Oh, the
San
Yes.
Carlos Computer Club.
has a Facebook?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Now
check
you're
it
hurting
out.
my feelings. I do all this just for the air in my life. So my second point was, who's the email for? When you're looking at one of these email messages, immediately, okay, I have an Apple account. Who's the email for? Look at the recipient. In my example of having an email account specifically for services, if this is addressed directly to you, not to your services account, you know it's a scam because it's coming to the wrong email. So you can throw it away. In the case of this one, it was ridiculous. They had sent it to mail-appleid@support.com. That was the recipient. That was supposed to be my email address for my Apple account, but they sent it to that address. It's a scam. Throw it away. The third point I made is, who's it from? In this case, it was very difficult to find because it was this 1,000-character email address. But I was able to see the domain, and the domain was samjapangotham.com. No legitimate service is going to send you an email from an address like that. So do you have the service? If you do have the service, who was it sent from? Who is it sent to? Was it sent to the email account that you have associated with the service? Who is it from? Is it from a legitimate source? The fourth one, there should not be a fourth one at this point. At this point, you know this is a scam email. But if you want to take it farther, then the fourth one I wrote here is the attachment. In this case, they attached a Word document to an Apple request. This is my invoice from Apple has attached a Word document that has the invoice. Let me assure you, Apple is never going to send you a Microsoft formatted document. Google is never going to send you an Apple formatted document. Microsoft will never send you a Google formatted. These services, they are only going to send you something that they created, and they're not going to use a competitor's tool to do it. So what that means is that the essence of the message is going to be in the message itself. It's not going to be an attachment, or it's going to be a PDF document. So if it's got an attachment that is not a PDF, it's probably a scam. That's what it comes down to. You don't have to go in and look at what kind of document it is. Just know Microsoft, Google, Apple, any of these services, They're smart enough to know that if they're going to send an attachment, it should be a PDF. But then my fifth point is it a PDF? Because if it's a PDF, PDFs are compromised all the time and used to hack people. And these big services know that. And so Apple's never going to send you a PDF. Microsoft, Google, they're never going to send you an attachment. If there's an attachment, it's probably a scam. So you can go on. And then what are my other 2 points here? Here we go. The sixth point I had to make was if you've gotten to this point and you're still unsure, are they pressuring you to do something? If you read this message, and it's the equivalent of, is time running out? Time is running out. It's probably a scam. Any legitimate service has a grace period associated with any correspondence. Any legitimate service does not want you to feel nervous about what it's sending you. And so if you're getting an email going, oh my God, we're going to turn you off if you don't take care of this right now, it's probably a scam. Most legitimate services are going to give you a grace period. So keep in mind that kind of thinking. There's a grace period associated with my legitimate services. Apple is going to ask me for a payment and then give me 30 days at least to sort out whether I actually owe. Keep that kind of thinking in mind. Nothing is getting shut off in 24 hours or 48 hours. You're not losing your abilities. If you are, it's a scam. Throw it away. And then my seventh point is my final point is, did you ask anybody about it?
What?
Did you
Did-
ask anybody?
Did you ask any? And actually, actually that was supposed to be my sixth point, but I don't know. Somewhere I got messed up in my numbering. But you can ask somebody before you do something. That was my point about the grace period. Is if you really don't know, you've got time. You can ask me to take a look at it, and I'll tell you whether it's a legitimate email or not. So take advantage of the grace period. My seventh point was, did you ask anybody about it? Just the act of you asking somebody about it probably means it's a scam. I have pointed out thousands of scams to people that have asked me about it. I've only, in 30 years, I put in the number 50. I probably haven't had that many legitimate emails that somebody has said, Scott, is this a scam? Do I have to deal with this? And I looked at it and went, oh, that's real. That's actually something that you're going to have to pay for, or it's going to be shut off. Less than 50 in 30 years. But thousands and thousands of scams I have looked at for people and said, no, that's a scam, don't pay attention to it. So my last rule is, do you feel like asking somebody? Because then it's probably a scam.
Well, my thing is, okay, if you make a big purchase, for instance, I made a big purchase recently, okay, and I used the credit card. Okay, I got this ominous looking email. It was legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured, you know what, better to call the card company and
The
say, did
number
you
on the
send me
card,
this
yeah.
email about, and yeah, they had put a hold on my account till I called them in to make sure that, you know, it was legit that I was the person making the purchase. But I would never answer on the computer.
Right.
You get these emails from the banks. I mean, I knew that I had made the purchase.
They called me on the phone.
No, they
Yeah,
didn't
they
call
usually
me.
call me
on the
too.
phone.
We've been
But
I think if you have any question, even like in that case, it feels like, I mean, you're a good thinker in that respect, Linda, because one of the things that happens is you're in the process of making a big purchase.
Yeah.
So you've gone across a number of different websites. You've been doing very specific searching. There's a lot of potential for a scammer to have gathered information that they could send you a message with the right kind of timing to make it feel like it's related to the purchase you just made.
right.
And you're a good thinker to go, wait, I don't think that, I mean, there's the potential of this being a scam. And I would pick up the phone. I wouldn't pay attention to that email at all. I'd go back to my other references and call the numbers of my other
Oh,
references.
that's what I do. I call them
Yeah.
in my phone book.
I call
Don't-
them off
don't
the
use-
back of the card.
Don't
Or
use
off the
any
back
of
of
the
the card.
information that was just sent to you.
Right.
Because if it is a scam, it's going to lead you back to the scammer.
Right.
See?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I've gotten 3 or 4 times in the last year or so, a pop-up warning, do not shut off your computer. And exactly what I do is unplug it.
He doesn't follow directions.
Wait, no, it sounds like he followed direction. He didn't turn it off.
I turn everything off.
I've never
And I
gotten
start back
anything
up,
wrong.
put it back up, and it's normal.
Yeah,
Can
I
I
have too.
ask a question that kind of is relating? Tell me why I should put Avast on my MacBook.
Okay, so you'll actually, if you haven't put an antivirus on the Macintosh,
What was the question?
you're probably
Avast.
you're probably going to be surprised the first time you run it. It's
Really?
going to find a bunch of
Okay.
stuff. Most of it it's not going to be affecting you. Most of what a virus scanner on a Macintosh finds are threats in your email that are intended for Windows computers. But there are a number of compromises for Macintosh.
Okay.
And if they aren't active, they could still be in your computer. They could be in temporary files on the.
So you recommend that I
do
that?
Yeah, Avast is the best antivirus I've found so far that you can get for free.
Okay.
That's
Avast.
Avast.
No, it's for everything.
But it's for Macintosh. My recommendation would be for Macintosh. If you've got a Windows computer, I would use the Defender that comes with Windows 10.
That's what we use.
Defenders, I'm impressed with.
Yeah, it just keeps getting better as far as security goes.
I never liked Avast because it continually is popping up. It drives you crazy.
I'm not a
The
big fan of
Windows.
Avast on Windows. On the Macintosh, I find it to be one of the most
And it
effective.
doesn't pop up all the time like it does on Windows?
No.
just a little thing in the corner. I just ignore
Oh, okay.
And what you might find when you first install it, it doesn't play nice with Firefox. So if you're using Firefox, you'll need to go into the settings of Avast and turn off the web checking. And it's actually, to me, that's a good reason not to use Firefox in itself. The Firefox is amazingly fast right now. If you're looking for performance in your web browsing, Firefox is the fastest browser right now, but it still suffers from some of these kinds of issues, and it breaks Firefox's ability to do encrypted pages, and so you have to turn it off if you want to use it in conjunction with Firefox. Yeah.
One of the things I found now, you go into some of these sites where you have a password. They're not even relying on the password anymore. When you get in there, they send you a message with a code that you have to put in to get into it. So,
we're sure going to see more and more of that two-time authentication,
Right.
where it's you and then something you have. That's.
I'm running into that in spades because I'm changing my mailing address. And every single one of them
yep.
wants to send you a set of numbers that you've got to go
Right.
to the end.
Yeah,
Yep.
You can copy and paste those.
just copy and paste them.
I had something that I'm not pulling it out of my brain at the moment, but that they would only sign me into it if I had a cell phone that was registered in my name. And they could verify my name to a cell phone number.
Yeah.
And therefore, I guess at that point I'm alive and legitimate.
Or if you're calling from that, if you actually are calling someplace from that number, it's verified right away.
And I wasn't even using, it had nothing to do with the phone. It had nothing to do with Verizon or a phone number or anything else. But they said, and it was an instantaneous, almost like credit cards are anymore, that they can tell if you transpose a number, they can say, hey, idiot, this isn't the right number. And you have to put it back in. But it was an immediate thing. they saw I had a cell phone in my name, and I guess I was able to go on. I can't remember what, but it had nothing to do with Verizon.
Well, I've had a couple of those, and I tried to use my Magic Jack number, it wouldn't take. So I had to call them. I called them, and then they verified it because they wouldn't use the Mexican phone number either.
Wow.
So,
That's interesting.
yeah, one of them was Auto Trader, and there was another one because we're trying to sell our little car, and they wouldn't verify with a Mexican phone number or Magic Jack.
That's it. I've been using Magic Jack and Skype for stuff like that.
Well, that's what I do. I mean, that's the only phone number we have is Magic Jack and Mexican phone number.
No, that's an interesting problem.
Scott, would you address Jeffrey's earlier comment about one such?
Yeah, why?
Oh, that doesn't sound like to me, that doesn't sound like a Windows or a Macintosh message. Hey, that sounds to me like something that's gotten into his computer. I think
What's going on? Why doesn't he want to?
But he says don't turn off your computer. And what I think it is, they're trying to get the money.
Yeah.
Where they capture your computer.
I suspect that you have gotten something in memory at that moment that is doing any of those things. It's either turning your computer into a node on a botnet, or it's adding adware so that you've got pop-ups, or it's putting itself into a position where it's going to be able to collect your data over time. But it doesn't want you to turn it off because it's going to kill that process. There shouldn't be a message like that. The only time in Windows that I think of you getting a message like that is when you're going through the update process. And what you're talking about is a pop-up window in the corner. And that I would associate with something nefarious. And I think unplugging it has been very successful for you. It could be that your computer was compromised. As far as that compromise could get was into memory, and it's running through all the different hacks trying to get a hook into your computer at that moment. And just by shutting it down and starting it back up fresh, it's wiped that out of the RAM, and so that process is not trying to run that
But if you're on a
anymore.
laptop and it's got a battery, if you unplug it, it's not going to do any good.
Well, that's true, especially if
Turn it off. Just turn it off.
Yeah.
Turn it off.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong though, because you probably don't want to shut it down correctly. In fact, if it's a good bad program, it would see you trying to shut it down, and it would say, please wait, we're in the middle of a process, try and make that look as legitimate as possible. And it can hold up the shutdown process, because applications can do that. They can indefinitely hold up the shutdown process so you don't break something that it's doing. So if it's an illegitimate program that has been written correctly, you can't get it to shut down correctly. And so, like this laptop here has a built-in battery. You can't pull out the battery. You can't pull the power on it. So all you could do is use what the manufacturer provided, the power button, and you hold the power button until it just dies.
I have another question. I found this in a voicemail, and the voicemail was, if you're expecting this call, to press pound.
Oh,
How would I know if I'm expecting a call?
Then you know it's
That's-
a scam.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that sounds like a really legitimate function. Were you expecting the call?
No, I wasn't expecting
Click.
Scott, I had today, the computer was just asleep, that you never replaced that button there.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And I've had to restart it a few times, works great.
Yeah. A restart, not a shutdown, but a
In
restart.
fact, I don't even keep the back on it.
Oh no.
Well, I keep it on there, but I can take it off.
Okay.
That's 25 screws. But anyway, and the Bluetooth would not.
You need some clothespins. Just.
It makes my hands stronger. But the Bluetooth wouldn't attach, whatever the term is, to my mouse and my keyboard.
Oh, okay.
And I ended up having to shut it off and then turn it back on and go through 30 minutes of garbage. Is there any quicker way to do that? I mean, I went to the open preferences, I went to all the different things to connect. Usually sometimes the mouse won't connect, and I go up to there and connect and then connect. But it wouldn't allow me to turn off the Bluetooth or turn it and therefore turn it back on.
Like it was grayed out. The off and
No,
on of Bluetooth.
It showed that I should be able to turn it off. It just didn't respond.
So when you hit it, it didn't change its status.
That's right.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if there's anything more simple.
Well, no, there isn't. But what I would say is that you should have been able to resolve it without turning it off cold.
Yeah.
And one of the things that a Macintosh user always has to know is how to zap the PRAM. And that's at the startup. When you first hear that chime, you hold down the Option key, the Command key, as well as the P key and the R key. That's right. It's the claw.
Option key, Command key.
R and P. All four of those at the same time, right when you're hearing the chime. And what that does is it forces the hardware to re-identify itself to the software. So that the hardware flushes out its cache, because it stores in memory what kind of video card you have and what kind of sound card you have and what kind of Bluetooth you have. And what this does is it flushes that out of memory, and so the computer has to go find that information again. And you can do that without having to shut it all down. You just restart it. As you're hearing you got to be hovering over these keys. The moment you hear the chime, you hit all four keys and you hold them. You don't let go of them until you hear the chime again. And I'm one of those people that likes to hear the chime a third time before I consider myself done. And
You're holding it for chime.
that's right. You hold it, and it chimes, and it comes back on, and it chimes again, and then I let go.
Is this Apple?
This is Apple. Yeah. And so after you do that, Gary, you expect it to take longer for the computer to start up. Because the computer, as the operating system's loading, it's having to re-identify those hardware devices. And it's setting, you might have something like your screen might do a wonky thing when it first comes on and then go back to normal. But it's re-identifying those.
Well, it did some wonky things. I mean, it went black. I thought, what, they screwed this up. I'm glad it's not still there. It went black, and it was there for 2 minutes, and then it took a whole long time.
It sounds like you ended up doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe
Just
pulling the
restart.
battery, because that's what you had to do to restart it. You had to pull off the battery clip.
That's the only way that worked.
Yeah. And so maybe on this model, pulling the battery has the same kind of effect as doing the PRAM. Because
Sounds like it.
the extra time and the strangeness is what you expect after you do something like that on the
So
Macintosh.
if it worked with that button like it should have, then I would hold those four and hit the on.
No, as it's turning on, you hear that
I'd
chime.
have to shut it off anyway.
Well, no, you can restart it.
Oh, just go to the restart.
Yeah, you do a restart, and you hover over the keys, and then it goes ching, and you hit the four keys, and you wait until like the screen will flash, and it'll do some stuff, and then pretty soon it'll come back to the chime again and go ching.
So as this is in this unique state, what do I do to the restart?
Under the Apple.
I'm sorry?
Under the Apple.
Oh, go to that little Apple guy?
Yeah. And it should say restart.
It does.
Amazing.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
You learn something every week.
That's why I come. Okay, got it. Thank you. Oh, and
Go ahead.
What's LibreOffice? Why did you put that in there?
LibreOffice is a Office suite package that will allow you to open any Office documents.
So if Office is screwing up on here, I can go to LibreOffice and probably open the report.
Yeah, in fact, LibreOffice has done a better job of staying backwards compatible with all the different versions of Office. And so it's my choice when I look for an Office suite. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to Microsoft Office, but I don't think they're selling an Office suite any longer. I mean, they've got a real nice Office suite, But I think what they're really selling is cloud storage and Office Anywhere. And so I think that if you have a need for those things, Office is a good package to look at. But I don't think you look at it because you have to open a Word document.
Can I comment on that? Because I recently bought it.
Yeah,
It's Office 365.
365, yeah.
And of course, I paid for it with PayPal,
Okay.
and you get a year's service.
Yeah.
And then I downloaded it and worked with it and paid it. So I decided I didn't want to pay again for it, so I went in my PayPal account, and sure enough, it was set up
To do automatic. Yeah. In fact, let's just blanket everything that you could pay with PayPal. There's a good chance it'll be set up for automatic payment. If it's a subscription service, you would have to take control of that yourself. You'd have to go and say, no, I don't want to.
I'm stuck for 1 year. I went
Well-
back to 07.
Well, what you have, and this is the thing, is I don't think that you should be thinking of this subscription as I have Office. I think you should be thinking of it as I've got a terabyte of cloud space that I can stick my backups and my documents on, because it's a very reasonably priced terabyte of space. I think you can get it for $100 a year. $100 a year, and you can get a terabyte. I mean, that's bigger than most of your computers. So you can back up your computer to it if you need to. You can keep all your data out there. You can ditch the whole computer, go to another computer, and have access to all your data that's sitting out there. And they throw an Office package in. So you've got Word, you've got Excel.
It was 100 and something.
I thought it was
Yeah, I think it's $9.99 a month or $100 a year. I think you get a discount if you buy it for a year.
But you can put it on your phone, my computer, my laptop, this computer.
Yeah, and it goes even farther than that. The private version, there's a business version and a personal version. The personal version, if you pay $100 a year, you get 5 licenses. So if you've got other computers in your house, and we're talking about Windows licenses, well, Windows or Macintosh license, the full-blown Office that we typically think of, then you can distribute that among 5 different computers. But then the online versions are available. The Android version, the iOS versions are available. The iPad version is available.
So when I bring my laptop home, it connects with my desktop. That's great.
Yeah, well, you can be doing documents on your tablet, and when you sit down at your desktop, they're available because you've got them stored in your OneDrive. Yeah. So I think those are all good reasons to consider Microsoft Office. I put LibreOffice on your computer because I don't think you're considering any of those things. I think what you get is somebody sends you a Word document every once in a while, or a spreadsheet every once in a while, and you need to be able to read what it says. And LibreOffice is perfect for that.
Got a question, though.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to mention that I got away from the Word for a reason, and I went to SoftOffice.
SoftOffice.
Yeah, because it's called TextMaker, and it's got a suite. It's reasonable. They have a free version, but the other part is reasonable for private computers. And that's reading all of the documents that I used to have loads of them from all the years I had with Word. And it seems to be working out good.
Well, the problem I had with the Office 365 was the Outlook portion, the Outlook section. And every time I would get an email, delete it, but it would go off of my master at Gmail, and it would disappear from there.
Well, SoftOffice sent me an offer or whatever. Anyway, one-time purchase. And it works. It's, when you open up the document, you don't know you're looking at a Word document.
Or a Microsoft Word document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Word.
Yeah.
That was a long time
That
ago.
works perfect.
I think one of the advantages of that is, like I use Carbonite home
Oh, for your backup.
because I want an off-site backup. If the
Mhm.
house burns down,
Right.
my documents, and I'm able to access them from here, the ones that have been uploaded from my home computer.
What I did was two terabyte external hard drive,
That's what I have.
and solid state hard drive.
Where do you keep it?
Yeah.
Unplug it, and when I want to back up something,
But Chester, her point was that what if your house catches fire?
well, then I've lost
Right.
my house. In
Well,
Mexico,
with any
house.
cloud service, I use
Exactly.
Yeah.
any cloud
Yeah,
service.
our
Our
house
house
burned
was
down
just
here.
compromised not too long
Our
ago.
houses won't burn down
The-
here. There was never any fires.
Well,
or
this is the
anything.
Everything
one
I
And I
have
wonder
that
how
has
this
to be
goes.
secure is locked.
Mhm.
Why I assume that the password to put the stuff.
I don't
Being
know,
able
they
to
just said
access
that
the
a
files
lot
from
of
here
stuff
is
was
being
compromised with
godsend.
Dropbox.
Well, we're living in a strange time because the cloud, we finally got the technology of the internet and cloud storage to a point where that is the solution. That should be the most secure, most reliable way for you to back up your information and not have to worry about it. And the paradigm of devices detached from your data is what makes the most sense. You've got a phone, you're using that as a window to your data. Your data's out there, this is your window to it. You go over to the tablet, it's the same data. It's just you're using a different window. You go to your laptop, it's the same data. It's just you can chuck one in the trash and buy another one and access the same data. What keeps screwing it up is all this privacy stuff and these poor stewards of our data, like the Facebook stuff and the Dropbox stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the technology now. I mean, seriously, your data is less susceptible, it's more secure, it's less susceptible to damage being kept out there on a OneDrive or a Carbonite backup or a Dropbox than your hard drive sitting there on your desk.
How about both? And the reason
Both
why-
is the way you should do
The
it.
reason I say that, if you're traveling and you don't have internet access, if you've got a little hard drive,
Mhm.
you can stick in the computer, you've got everything right there.
Well, and both is the way that I mean, as IT professionals, we all belt and suspenders. You keep it on site and you keep it off site. You both is the way you do everything. You have,
Yeah, but I mean, do you think the cloud is actually better than just off-site physical? So
Yeah.
what if he has another drive that he gives to you? Both of your houses are going bye-bye at the same time.
Yeah, no, I think that's good as well. But there's a huge convenience factor that you've taken out of the equation. And
No, well, I wasn't
Yeah.
addressing the convenience.
no, the convenience issue is part of it.
That's a different
Yeah.
discussion.
I mean, convenient when we're talking about security, it's always a discussion of convenience.
One thing that's become, everyone's got all their stuff on there, it's become really personal. You know, so if someone comes over, like I had someone, my neighbor had to come over. She left her, charger at home on her laptop, so she had to come over and use my computer. Well, she got in there. She was trying to get on the bank. She was trying to get on this. They absolutely would not let her on. She wound up having to call them because she was
Because she was on a different
accessing them
computer.
from a different
Yeah,
computer.
yeah.
Or you're trying to help somebody and they come over to your house. This has happened to me umpteen times.
I'm running.
They've come over to try and get my help, bring it over. They want the whole thing because it's all on your internet and everything wants to hook up to their computer wants to hook up to your internet,
Okay.
you know, so it's really become real personalized,
What
you know.
some of this
Well,
stuff.
your tablet, your phone, everything is hooked up, so if someone comes over and tries to use your laptop, or
I'm imagining this has to
their
do with
stuff.
like TV services and things like that, right?
Yeah, but even my girlfriend came over and she needed to get on to the Bank of
Yeah.
America.
Mhm.
They absolutely would not let her on.
I had the same problem with Schwab, since you took the Apple.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm trying to get on the Schwab with my laptop.
Yeah,
Wait.
I had to get a special code sent
Right.
to me on my phone.
But they do that.
In order to do that.
It was an unrecognized device.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want us to remember this
So she
device?
wound up calling
You
Bank of America.
are coming in.
See you guys.
Always.
Oh, is this your last
from
meeting?
this device, which
Well,
has,
we'll miss you guys.
you know,
Well, unless I get everything
it's a
done.
unique number, so that's it.
Okay.
And
See it cards.
the minute it detects any other device, it says, no, I want to verify this is you. So they're going to make you prove that you have this phone.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they sent me a 5-letter code
Right.
on my phone
Yeah.
to verify.
Yeah, you know, I think that's very
Now,
true.
now try to
I think that's a
jump through that
different
hoop,
from what we're talking about, disassociating the data from the device.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But
You don't have your-
the devices are much more personal.
Oh,
Right?
much more.
Yeah.
They're
I-
all personalized to you.
I think though that this paradigm where you can chuck the device and the data is not affected. I think that's a sound that's a sound path forward. That's where we're seeing all this go.
Well, that's good with Google because you know what? You get a new phone, you just turn it on and all your stuff is there.
Well, and like what you were just describing, somebody coming over and wanting to use your stuff,
Mhm.
I've gotten in the habit of just, I mean, they don't want to do anything except use a web browser.
Mhm.
So I open up Chrome and set up a guest account,
Mhm.
and that way everything is theirs. If they've been doing stuff in that fashion, then all they do is sign into Chrome. And all their stuff follows them. Their bookmarks follow them. Their history follows them. In fact, one of the big features right now with Windows is the Edge browser's doing that,
Uh-huh.
where your bookmarks, your history, your passwords, all that follow you from your computer to your phone, as long as you're using Edge in both places or onto your Macintosh.
So just sign out of Google and then sign back in and open a guest account for them?
Yeah, just set up a new profile. Well, Google actually, Chrome has a guest account that you can just click on the guest account and open up a blank, clean browser, and everything they do in there is their deal.
Oh, okay.
Or if if they do this kind of stuff, if they have a Chrome account,
Uh-huh.
then you can just add a person to your Chrome, and they sign into their Gmail account, and all their stuff propagates into that new profile.
Okay.
And then you-
I bet that doesn't solve your unrecognized device.
No, it doesn't. But there's
Just to be clear.
there's two
But they
different
don't
two
get
different things
involved
we
with
were
your
talking
stuff.
about.
They don't
Yeah.
get involved with your stuff.
They're definitely still dealing with the unrecognized device issue. This has to do with borrowing your computer,
Yeah.
which was the first topic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Set up a guest account when they come,
Yeah.
so they're not on your.
Right. Well, and it's much easier than setting up a guest account on your computer. Like on Windows, it takes so much more to set up a user account. You log out of your account, and they log into theirs, and
Right.
the profile needs to be set up, and settings need to be set, and finally it's ready to go, and now they can use it. If all they want to do is web stuff, then just set up a new profile on Chrome, and that's ready like that. And they sign in with their Gmail account, and away they go.
Okay.
Does that make sense? If you pull
Yeah,
up
so where do
Chrome,
you pull up Chrome and then where do you set up a guest account?
you would set up. There is a tab up in the bar of Chrome
Okay.
that says which account you're on. And I've been doing this for so long, I can't remember if
Over
that's
in the right side where you have Linda Gruber, and then I
Yes.
have another email address
right.
for my husband to go to.
Well, remember this is Chrome. This isn't Gmail or Google, and this can get a little confusing because where I'm talking about is the title bar of the Chrome browser.
Okay.
The Windows title bar has, the minimize, maximize,
Over in the
close.
right corner.
Right next to that, it lists what account you're signed into Chrome
Right.
with. So if you pull that down,
Yeah.
one of your options will be a guest account, and another one will be manage people.
Really?
Yeah. And so the guest account, yeah, come over here. I'm looking at it right now. Everybody gather around. I'll be happy to show you.
Oh, I'm gonna go. Mine never shows up.
Well, are you signed into Chrome?
Oh,
I never thought before.
you clicked over there.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, not down here on.
That
No.
opened up.
Not over here.
No.
Oh, up at the top.
Up at the top in the title bar.
Oh.
And so you could click guest. It opens up a blank browser ready to be used by anybody.
You're Irving. Oh, okay.
On the unit, whatever you're signed in. But what would you use managed people for?
Manage people is if you want to add an account.
Oh,
And so that's what I was going to say is that if this person wants their bookmarks, wants their passwords, wants their history, manage people, set up a new account just by signing in as a new Gmail account. Because in fact, I just brought up manage people, and it shows every Google account I have or every Chrome account profile I have set up. And in the lower right hand, you can browse as a guest or you can add a person. And when you add a person, it asks for your Gmail account, and it propagates a new profile on.
It's in Windows.
It's in Chrome. You should be able to do this on Chrome on the Macintosh, Chrome on your phone, Chrome. You can maintain various profiles in Chrome.
On Chrome?
Yeah. In Chrome, it might look a little different. You probably have to go into settings and add.
Go into settings?
Yeah, and add a new profile under settings. If it's on your phone, I think it looks different.
Switch account?
Yeah.
Okay, where I clicked on my name next to it, the 3 dots?
No.
Switch account?
No, I think it's the 3 dots above that.
Oh, this one up here?
I think so, yeah. If you're in Chrome,
Okay,
and then go to settings or any.
settings.
Let me follow you on my phone because I do it, but I don't remember how it looks.
Scott, thank you.
You're welcome, Gary. We'll see you next week, maybe.
I gotta go.
Oh, you do? Well, have a good trip.
Okay, so I'm on settings. It says Linda Gerber singing to Sun Me.
Okay. And well, that's funny. This is set to continue as Scott Stimpson.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to say no. Oh, yeah, that's it. Say no.
Where?
Up at the top.
Settings?
Oh, you've got a different Chrome than I do. Here's how mine looks. So
No.
go to settings. Settings.
Got it, settings.
Okay, and there's your account. There, add account.
Okay, add account.
And now you can sign in as another Gmail account, another Google account.
Okay, checking info. Add your account.
Yeah, and that's where your friend would sign in or your other account would sign in, and you'd have another profile on your phone under the Chrome browser.
Okay, so let me see. Add to your account. Let me see what, if I click the find my account. No. Have this person put in their email here.
Yep, that's right. They would sign into Chrome using their Google account. It would be more than likely their Gmail account.
the reverse of that is then you'll be access to their.
Well, yeah, right. No, absolutely.
Even if they sign out.
They may not be good.
If they sign out, then they'll have to sign back in. All that stuff would stay under that profile. But you can delete the profile. I mean, if you're looking for housekeeping or they're looking for housekeeping, they could sign into it. They could get access to everything they need. They could sign out and delete the profile.
Okay, like when you go in a hotel, if you use their computer,
Mm-hmm.
you sign out at the end. You don't. When you sign you don't sign in to save your information.
Right. You sign in a guest
But in
account. But if
here-
they have Chrome, you could sign into Chrome. Your stuff would propagate. Your bookmarks, your passwords, your history, that could all be
That
brought
still
down to it.
wouldn't solve their issue by calling the bank.
There's a way to keep them out of your stuff, keep their stuff solid.
Okay.
But they would still be identified. That was the point Richard was making. Guys, I'm enjoying this, but I have run out of time.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
On these new bars, I'm forgetting that's say, join this club, similar club, our club, clubs.
What is this?
The clubs, it said join
On
the club.
Facebook.
Just
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, on Facebook. Okay, how do I cancel? I inadvertently hit on one, but I joined it. Now, how do I get out of it?
Go to follow it to that page,
Yeah.
and then it'll have a button there that shows that you liked it or you're following it, and you should be able to hit the same button for options to get out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I went to how to get a guest account in Windows. So it says how to create a guest account in Windows 10 on YouTube.
Right. Now this is a different deal. This is where you're signing into Windows. So you sign out of your computer. See, guys, you sign out of your computer and you allow somebody to sign into it as a different user.
Yeah.
It's either a
Same
guest
thing.
or well, it's the same concept, but it's a lot more overhead.
You let anybody use your computer. I would never let you use my computer.
See, if all they're doing is internet activities, if all they're doing is using a web browser.
Yeah, she was just to
Yeah.
get on her bank account.
So if that's all they're doing, there's no reason for you to have to create a whole new user profile on your computer. This is an easy way to keep her stuff separate and personal while still being in your computer.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to call it. I'm going to say, this has been the San Carlos Computer Club. I'm Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions, and thank you for being with us this Tuesday and listening to these topics. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, you can check us out at scclub.org for more recordings like this. You can look for us in iTunes. All right, what's going on over there? Am I really this boring? You can look for us and subscribe to us by searching the San Carlos Computer Club in iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you have problems, I don't want to hear them. No, that's not right. But if you do have computer issues anywhere on the internet, I'd appreciate you getting a hold of me so I can help you find solutions. Get a hold of me through my website at internationalcs.net. I guess that's it. We're going to call it. We'll see you guys next week.
Okay.
No, you're out of here? Boy, this group's going to get small fast.
And we sold our place, so
Oh,
if you come down again, it'll be by motorhome.
wow. Well, that'll be an adventure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Nice knowing you. When are you coming up to Alaska?
I'll be up the 1st of June.
Oh, we're leaving, we're gonna fly up on the 23rd of May.
Oh, okay, great.
We go to Homer.
Yeah.
And we stay there. Here it'll be about 3 months.
Wait, don't you get inundated with all the tourists that come through Homer in the
You
summer?
know what, we're in the trailer park, so we're just used to it.
All
And
right.
we've been, this is gonna be a funny, I think we kind of got used to it. I actually like it
Yeah?
very much. People are nice,
Yeah.
and,
Homer is one of the destinations. Everybody goes to Homer. Anybody that comes to Alaska. Yeah.
Where the land ends and the sea begins.
That's right.
Their slogan. So we're gonna be up there. We have everything in the storage yard here, and we bring everything over to our site, the same site for 29 years. Sort of creatures of habit, aren't we? And yeah, we'll see you next time.
All right. All right. Well, that's it. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday. Tech on.